Tokusatsu is a Japanese term for live-action television shows or movies that have a strong presence and heavy use of practical effects, with one of the most popular and consistent examples being Super Sentai. Live-action heroes with the use of fancy suits, giant robots, miniatures, weapons, gear, and explosions, just to name a few. But outside of Japan, we really wouldn't have a taste of Tokusatsu until a little show came around known as Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Now, Power Rangers is not an original concept. The title of this video is a little silly, I'm sorry. Tokusatsu has an incredibly rich history. For example, Japan had that Spider-Man TV show that's very reminiscent of something like Power Rangers. Over-the-top villains, crazy fight scenes, silly vehicles and gadgets you can buy in toy form, a hero in a suit, Spider-Man even fights off foot soldiers like they're the putties. Heck, even Godzilla has Toku elements, giant creatures fighting over a city built of miniatures that can really showcase size and destruction. These are the same methods used in a Megazord fight. So today we're gonna simply talk about Tokusatsu, some that were obviously ripping off Power Rangers, others that are Power Rangers adjacent, as well as whatever this is.
Shut up!
After the rousing success of Season 1 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers in 1993, Saban decided to expand on his Japanese Toku adaptation universe, creating VR Troopers in 1994. VR Troopers is, pretty much literally just Power Rangers. We follow 3 teenagers with attitude, if that attitude was positive, considering they do karate and are nature activists. Ryan, Caitlin, and JB. They do karate at the dojo. They're nice upstanding teens that have that 90s cheese we all love so much.
Oh, well, JB and I just showed them what they can accomplish if they work together.
Okay, so here's the main premise. There's an evil real estate tycoon named Zictor, who has a pet lizard. I guess that indicates he's evil. He's consistently tearing down neighborhoods and nature spots to build nuclear power plants. However, he hides a dark secret. He can jump into the virtual world and become an evil emperor known as Grimlord. And I guess he can somehow take that into the real world and cause destruction. He doesn't appreciate the teens with their stupid activism, so he sends these flying monsters to destroy them. Eventually, they come across a
portal or a gateway,
which transports them to a lab where not Zordon gives them their virtual boys, allowing them to now go into the VR world, which I guess then gives them superpowers in the real world. Grimlord sends down a monster to attack Earth, so what better time to try out these new powers than now? It's Morphin' time!
Trooper transform!
Oh, sorry, Trooper transform. Where then, of course, now the show then becomes good, since we're just watching Japanese fight scenes. What's fun though is that we actually get to see a lot of the fights. If you remember, in Mighty Morphin Season 1, we didn't actually see a lot of the fights in great length. We'd usually just see the Rangers get beat up until summoning the Power Blaster, you know? These suits are from the Metal Hero series in Japan, which is apparently a tokusatsu series following space, military, or police-based characters. These 3 specifically are, and I apologize for my mispronunciation, Chojinki Metalder, Jiku Senshi Spielban, and Space Sheriff Shader. They came out in the 80s, and you can kind of tell with the camera quality during the fights versus the original footage filmed in the 90s. However, since these 3 are from completely different shows, this means that the 3 teens were rarely fighting alongside each other. Every episode would find a reason to separate the teams so it could explain why one trooper is fighting by themselves. The only time all 3 troopers fought together and on screen at the same time were either in the unmorphed fights or the battle grid fights. I'm not too sure what the battle grid is. It's just a reason to fight inside the virtual reality, but this is all original footage, which includes the suits. Yeah, the battle grid suits are different from the trooper suits, and they are so god-awfully cheap looking. Look at this poorly painted spandex, and the helmets are literally repainted Mighty Morphin helmets. I don't know why they didn't just use the actual suits that look good. It's a shame because the original fights are really well done, as is par for the course with 90s Saban. The main plot with our heroes revolves around Ryan trying to find his long-lost dad. A plot point Power Rangers Dino Charge would shamelessly steal 20 years later. VR Troopers feels a lot like Mighty Morphin, not just for the obvious reasons, but the presentation as a whole. A lot of the background music when the teens are hanging out in their regular lives sounds like the music used when the Rangers are hanging out at the juice bar.
You're the one to save the city's energy supply from Grimlord Skuggs.
Yeah, it's gonna make a great story for the paper.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, check him out! Whoa, a skunk.
The fight scenes have that Ron Wasserman rock and roll sound. And even just looking into the camera before shouting their morphing call. Also, Grimlord's background music sounds eerily close to Lord Zedd's theme.
Escalate to the battle grid!
I felt teased every time I heard it. It plays like the first note of Zedd's theme, and I'm just waiting for the rest to continue.
Escalate to the battle grid!
VR Troopers is actually pretty good if you don't mind the obvious 90s cheese. It would run for 2 seasons with a total of 92 episodes, which honestly isn't bad. But I'm not really surprised it didn't have the success of Power Rangers. There's a lot of things here that aren't really going to appeal to a little kid. The lack of Megazords is one thing. The theme song is a little mid, sorry. But the Troopers also all kinda look the same. A kid can point out the Blue Ranger or the Red Ranger as their favorite in Power Rangers, but here, you can't do that. You have to just address them as Ryan. Also, the dinosaurs were a pretty big hook. Kids are into multicolored heroes and dinosaurs, not so much virtual reality science heroes. But that's just my theory, don't get me wrong, the show is actually really good. A lot of effort went into it and the fight choreography. That's enough to really win me over. Now, there was actually a pilot for the show called Cybertron, and it had Jason David Frank, aka the actor for Tommy, as the lead. This was when Tommy was written off of Mighty Morphin after he lost his powers. And coincidentally enough, it was actually Brad Hawkins, the actor for Ryan in VR Troopers, who was supposed to become the White Ranger in Season 2 of Mighty Morphin. Honestly, if Jason David Frank was in VR Troopers, maybe it would have been more successful? I don't know. Respectfully, all the actors in VR Troopers were not good. Very Goosebumps-esque.
You were right, Dad. We're all brothers and sisters on this earth.
There's a lack of excitement and energy that needs to come when doing a show like this, and JDF absolutely brought that in Cybertron.
Hey, let me give you something to remember me by!
Along with the Go Green Ranger Go song in the background, but with the lyrics replaced with Cybertron. I'm convinced we should have gotten this. Overall, VR Troopers will go down in history as a charming piece of the 90s. A time where Power Rangers was so successful and popular, they wanted to build a whole franchise and brand around this concept, helping introduce tokusatsu to a Western audience. Alright, here's a show that actually exists, and I feel pain for knowing about it. Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills. This is a show from Deke that aired on the USA Network. The network apparently had a short-lived kids block named USA Cartoon Express, where they created this show. That was not a cartoon. So what do you really expect? We follow 4 teenagers with a lack of attitude, actually. They're honestly kinda losers, dealing with everyday teenage life. Until an alien portal opens up in front of them and a literal talking blob tells them they have been chosen to defend the Earth from the evil Emperor Gorganus.
Let me guess, that's bad.
That just happened. Anyway, they get ancient constellation tattoos that allows the teens to transform into superheroes. Where they then This is actually real. I swear to God, this is a real show that aired on real TV. It looks and sounds like a parody. The generic rock song that says the name of the show over and over, the god-awful green screen and low-effort fight choreography. This is truly what happens when execs look at Power Rangers' success and don't know a thing about why it's popular.
Sentinels, form Nitron!
The show came out in 1994, so I don't know if Saban just had some exclusive deal with Toei to only let him use their footage and already existing tokusatsu shows. But even then, with VR Troopers, at least the original fight scenes were good. They had actual effort put into them. This looks like an early AVGN episode. No, not even that. At least there was passion put into those. This is just sad. It looks like it should be a 2-minute parody on All That or something, not a 40-episode show, which, yes, how this was able to get 40 episodes, which, by the way, is more than any Disney season of Power Rangers, is beyond me. The show's biggest sin is that it usually takes around 12 to 15 minutes into the episode until the teens actually transform and fight the bad guys. And may I remind you, the show is only 20 minutes, and the dialogue is so poorly written and paced. I don't know, it feels like there's supposed to be a laugh track or something. Lots of pauses and no background music during these scenes.
Count me in, I'm starving after battling that.
I've been dying to try their salads.
Sure, great day.
Count me in, I'm starving after battling that.
I've been dying to try their salads.
Sure, great day.
It is bad in every way. At least in Mighty Morphin, if the acting or plot was boring, it wouldn't take long until it's Morphin time, you know? Overall, I guess I'm kinda glad it exists. Just so the world could see how something so awful could make it on TV, solely thanks to the Power Rangers mania running wild in the 90s.
Duty calls.
Right, yeah. After all, we are the tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills.
Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. I can't with these names. Alright, Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad, or SSS for short, aired on ABC and was actually adapted from a Japanese tokusatsu series, Gridman the Hyper Agent. This show was actually not too bad. Here we follow a high school student named Sam Collins. No relation. He's in a band with his friends named Team Samurai. During rehearsal, Sam gets hit with a power surge that attaches a device on his wrist that he can't remove. His video game console then gets zapped, and Sam gets transported into his video game and transforms into Servo, the not Power Rangers ripoff hero who fights monsters. The main villain is an AI virus named KiloCon, who's voiced by Tim Curry? Wait, that's actually somebody.
I will find you and I will destroy you. So swears Kilo Khan.
This AI partners up with a kid from Sam's school named Malcolm, who is a social outcast who wears a trench coat. The 90s were a different time. Malcolm helps KiloCon in his plan to dominate the world and infect everything, and Sam, I guess, is just along for the ride, fighting evil because he's a good kid. The presentation is probably the best we've seen so far. The high school kids actually seem to be played by real teenagers, not guys and girls in their 20s pretending to be 16. So the childhood wonder and day-to-day teenage life plots actually feels more genuine. Sam just gives off big Disney main character vibes.
I'm really sorry.
Sam Collins, how could you? I mean, I was so embarrassed and my father was furious.
I'm really sorry.
All of these fights take place inside this computer program, so unfortunately the setting does get a little repetitive. It's a dark room with miniature buildings surrounding them. The fight choreography, as per usual, is really good. Although it's definitely of lower quality than something like Super Sentai or Kamen Rider. So much so, I thought this was just original US footage. But no, Gridman just looks like this. This show is one of the better Power Rangers ripoffs, mainly because the teenage slice of life is a bit more engaging and somewhat entertaining. A little weird, but overall, I like it.
I'm Sam Collins. Something really weird happened to me today. I got sucked into a computer, fought a deadly digital monster. Oh, and I found my lost gym sock. So stay tuned.
Mystic Knights of Tir Nanog. Oh man, I wonder why this one didn't work out. It's actually, once again, a Saban production. I remember seeing commercials on it for Fox Kids all the time during airings of Power Rangers. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this show here, considering it's not really a Power Rangers ripoff, but it is made by Saban and has elements of Power Rangers, so the similarities are too much to ignore fully. If you needed to describe the show in one sentence, it wouldn't be inaccurate to say this is ye olde medieval Power Rangers. We follow our 4 heroes, Rohan the Orphan Knight, Princess Deidre, Prince Ivar, and Angus. You got the short end of the stick with names. The evil queen wants to take over the land, and it's up to our heroes to stop her. Pretty simple stuff. The Power Rangers aspect comes in the form of our heroes' new abilities, each being granted the power of the 4 elements. The way they activate these powers, though, goes pretty hard. I guess it's technically a morphing sequence.
Fire within me, earth beneath me,
Air above me!
water around me.
Transforming them into the Mystic Knights. This grants them really cool armor that is kind of Power Rangers adjacent. It looks good on a toy. But that's really where the Power Rangers comparison ends. There's no insane martial arts choreography or flashy special moves, no Megazords or anything like that. The show is actually really well written and presented. It's about as perfect as you can get when it comes to a live-action fantasy show for children. It's super ambitious if I'm being honest. Heck, not just for children's TV, but television as a whole. There's one long continuous story, fantastical sets and costumes that go all out, and the acting is surprisingly solid.
Is this your best? You aren't fit to lead a battalion.
Sure, there's the occasional Power Rangers rubber suit monster villain, and there's not a lot of fight scenes considering the special effects budget is apparently $5, but I'm surprised they managed to pull off a high quality show like this. And in 1998 during Power Rangers in Space? Man, Saban was on a roll this year. So that's all I'll really talk about for now. If you want to see a more in-depth standalone video on this show, let me know, I'd love to do it. Oh yeah, and the theme song goes unnecessarily hard. Oh, you know we're in for something special with a title like Van-Pires. So what's the deal? 4 ordinary teenagers with attitude are hanging out in the garage, because they're all car guys, when all of a sudden a meteor hits Earth and our heroes are in the crossfire. And instead of it instantly incinerating them, they transform into this.
What the? No way!
Oh, yep! They are now CGI car heroes, part Transformers, part Power Rangers. The Power Rangers aspect comes from the fact that the teens can change back into their human forms, but if they want to become whatever this is, they need to bust out their morphers and shout, "Mission Ignition!" Which does go hard, I'm gonna be honest. The show's biggest flaw is glaringly obvious. It looks like garbage. I mean, seriously, butt ugly Martians level of CG here. I don't even want to begin to praise it for having the ambition to use CGI. I more so want to yell at them for forcing me to look at this.
Blow toys.
Power saw.
Laser drill. I'm coming,
Visuals aside, it's also super boring, because animating a fight scene is also still very difficult in 1997, and the team just didn't have the resources or skills to do so. So even when the bootleg Transformers are on screen, they just talk. There's barely any action in this action show. And when there is a fight scene...
Whoa! They want gas? I'll give them gas.
Yeah, it's
Out this way! Burn rubber! That crazy tank is right behind me!
The show is just a lose-lose. The animated bits are atrocious, and the live-action segments are so cheesy and pointless. Just dude bros and dude girls hanging out in a garage working on cars.
72 Mustang? No, you don't. That's no Mustang. Nah, it is a Ford though. It's a Fairlane. No, check it out. It's a Fairlane.
But it is more watchable because of the unintentionally hilarious moments. For example, there's a part where the gang are hoisting up an engine and the chain breaks, and it just falls on their friend.
I'm not totaled. I think it's just you put me behind the driver's seat and I ran you into a brick wall.
Axel, haven't you heard of no-fault insurance? It was an accident.
Yeah, dude, don't let it run you off the road. No, I blew it, big time. How you guys ever gonna trust me again?
This acting, this writing, this everything. It is beyond words. First off, you ever heard of no-fault insurance is crazy? And secondly, everyone also speaks in car puns, which totally doesn't get annoying.
Did anybody get the number of that truck that hit me? Yeah, you're the lead car in the convoy, Axel.
Okay, just keep it in neutral, Sniper. Don't give it any gas.
Get off that freeway, Axel. I'm not total. Yeah, dude, don't let it run you off the road. Well, I just wish he'd put his mood in reverse already. Stay in park. Get back in the race, dude. How's your axle, man? Sorry I busted you up. I can do 0 to 60 in record time, all right? But I'll tell you one thing, man. We're gonna get there fast, yeah!
Van-Pires ran from September to December 1997, totaling only 13 episodes. Although apparently the show had a budget of $5 million, which even in 1997 sounds like a lot. Alright, heading back to the world of Saban Entertainment, we have Big Bad Beetleborgs. Alright, so what's the show about exactly?
3 typical average kids inside a haunted mansion. Just by chance, freed a ghost who made them Beetleborgs.
There you go, summed it up in 5 seconds. Outside of Power Rangers, Beetleborgs may have been Saban's most successful and well-produced show with a winning formula. The story follows 3 friends named Joe, Drew, and Roland, who get dared to spend the night in the haunted Hillhurst mansion, where a bunch of monsters start attacking them. However, a magical Jay Leno-looking genie named Flabber shows up to save them, granting the kids one wish. So, being good kids, they of course wish for world peace.
We want to be Beetleborgs.
Just kidding, that would be dumb. They of course wish to become Beetleborgs, who actually exist in the universe as comic book characters. Flabby grants them their wish, but accidentally brings the villains in those comic books to life. So now, what started off as kids just wanting to have cool powers, now has them actually fighting the evil forces to save the world. Sounds pretty basic and formulaic on paper, but Beetleborgs was actually very different from VR Troopers and even Power Rangers. First off, our main characters are children. Young children, possibly the age range of the kids who were watching Power Rangers, meaning those viewers would now really relate and attach themselves more to these characters.
Whoa, this is so cool! I'm the blue stinger board. Check out my stinger blade.
It also wasn't just the cast that was tailored for kids, but now the story, writing, plots, and presentation as a whole. Beetleborgs has a more lighthearted and fun feel. Instead of a wise leader like Zordon giving advice and lessons, we got a silly genie who looks funny and is eccentric as all hell, hanging out with monsters. There's also not a lot of actual Beetleborg superheroes fighting in the show. Most of the show is spent following these kids trying to solve mysteries and stop the bad guys in their human forms, uncovering secrets, learning about the monsters, and using whatever normal kid abilities they have to stop them. In that respect, Beetleborgs is actually more reminiscent of a live-action Scooby-Doo. But it's like if in Scooby-Doo, the monsters were real and Shaggy turned into a Power Ranger to fight it. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds pretty awesome to me. The heroes themselves are from another Metal Hero series, similar to VR Troopers, called Juko B Fighter. The B stands for Beatles. Like most of these shows, the fight choreography is incredibly spectacular and intense, but that wasn't the vibe Beetleborgs was going for. When there is a fight scene, it's either original footage that's very tame and littered with big Batman booms and pows text all over the screen, or it's just the original footage just edited down like crazy to show as little violence as possible. If I'm being honest, the best parts of the show is when the kids aren't transformed, because it's actually a really well written and presented spooky show similar to Goosebumps and Scooby-Doo as I mentioned earlier.
Huh? Shh, he's sleeping.
Beetleborgs ran for 2 seasons, from 1996 to 1998, and at the time, it was the most popular show under the Saban umbrella. Yeah, even more so than Power Rangers. The season that was airing at the time was Power Rangers Zeo, which at the time, Power Rangers was feeling a little stale. Both Power Rangers and VR Troopers were trying to appeal to a younger demographic, sure, but they were never outright presenting it as a kids show. Beetleborgs decided to just go full force with that, and it paid off. At least for a while. Although, I feel like there's still some mileage you could get out of Beetleborgs. Maybe a reboot? One could only hope. Now here's where things get a little complicated, because now we're gonna talk about Kamen Rider. To my knowledge, Kamen Rider is one of the most recognizable, popular, and long-running tokusatsu shows to ever exist, making its debut in 1971 and still continuing to this very day, releasing a new series every single year. It's similar to Super Sentai. Every year, you get a new hero. The two franchises are so intertwined with each other. I remember watching Gokaiger back in the day and seeing commercial bumpers for Superhero Time, where Gokai Red and one of the writers at the time would share the screen. There's also multiple Super Sentai and Kamen Rider crossover movies. The point I'm trying to make is that I'm sure Saban looked at the success of Power Rangers and the success of Super Sentai and saw a connection. So, if those other popular shows in Japan have the success of Super Sentai, then maybe it'll have the success in America. And in 1995, Saban would introduce the world to Masked Rider.
The time has come. The forces of evil must be vanquished forever.
And it was so ungodly bad. First off, Masked Rider probably got the best promotion it could. There was literally a 3-part crossover episode in Mighty Morphin. The lore of the Masked Rider in that episode is so boring, I don't even remember it and I don't want to go back because it was so generic and lackluster. Here we follow Prince Dex, the Rider himself, who heads to Earth to protect it from his evil uncle, Count Dragon, who's already managed to rule his world, and is now planning on conquering Earth. Dex crash lands on Earth and gets adopted by a nice family, kinda like Superman, where he now lives amongst the humans and needs to balance his new teenage life with superhero duties. Let's start with the minor problems first. Dax living a normal teenage life, going to school and doing extracurricular activities. Why is he doing this? He's an alien warrior vowed to protect the universe. A high school diploma from Wisconsin isn't going to do him any favors. There's literally an episode where robbers break into the house and it's up to Dex's pet chocobo thing named Furbus to do the Home Alone shenanigans to stop them. Like, wouldn't this be more productive for Dex to stay home and beat these guys up? Secondly, the acting is very, very terrible.
Count Dragon is now on his way to your planet to enslave your people.
A bug! I just saw a giant bug!
This is great. Will you, Dex? Will you stay with us?
It does kind of have that 90s cheese, but overall, it's more annoying than funny. And unfortunately, Dex is probably the worst in the show. It kind of works when he's trying to blend into society. He takes everything literally and doesn't understand anything about Earth, so his awkward acting kind of helps him there.
Are you pulling my leg?
No, but I can if you want me to.
But when it comes to the fight scenes, he has no sauce. It sounds like a fan dub.
The creatures have gone. I fear you have not seen the last of these strange events, good citizens.
But the real issue with Masked Rider is everything. Most of the Saban shows have a similar look and feel to them, but with this, it feels like they didn't know what they were doing. It feels cheesier than Mighty Morphin Season 1, the pacing is slow and awkward. It feels more like tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills than it does Power Rangers.
Alright, who wants dessert?
Seriously, why is it so poorly written, acted, and presented? It's too cheesy, even for Power Ranger standards, and it just blows my mind because it was made by the team who made Power Rangers. The sitcom portions feel too much like a Sesame Street scene, and when it's mixed with Kamen Rider footage that have serious action moments, it doesn't mix well. It really goes to show you how easy Mighty Morphin Power Rangers could have failed. And thus, an entire audience outside of Japan probably would never know about tokusatsu. However, our Kamen Rider in America saga isn't over just yet. Because in 2008, the world would get Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, together we can fight.
God damn, that's tasty! Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is a very, very, very rare case of someone not named Saban or Disney handling a tokusatsu show, while also aiming it towards an older audience. Dragon Knight would air on the CW on December 13th, 2008. Yeah, of course, the CW. What other network would air cheesy superhero shows with angsty teenage characters? On paper, all of that sounds really enticing. A lot of Power Rangers fans who grew up on the old shows were now adults. Maybe they were too old for the current product still aimed at kids and didn't have a way to watch Super Sentai yet. So creating what's essentially grown-up Power Rangers sounds good. So, okay, I'm in.
I got suspended the other day for fighting, and I never even touched the guy.
Ah, and just like that, I'm out.
Sounds about right, brah.
I get that the CW shows are a bit of a meme. They tend to have a lower budget for everything, and the teams are working with what they have, but sometimes it's a bit too distracting.
Hey! That's my camera!
We follow a teenager named Kit who's looking for his lost father. Man, everyone's ripping off VR Troopers. During his search, he finds an advent deck that lets him transform into Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Play the song. He eventually comes across evil forces and people who want it for themselves, mysterious friends, and even a love interest. Hey, you know what I do like in this show though? All of the late 2000s outfits. Every single person has got some insanely cool, edgy outfit on. Look at this. This was me at one point. Seeing Kit dressed up like this and playing with a Kamen Rider toy in front of a girl just kinda sums up the show perfectly. It's a bit too angsty and cool for its own good. I've always been open to the idea of a Power Rangers-esque show aimed at young adults, something that can be more mature and less campy, but every time I see it, it just doesn't work out. It's hard to find that balance for something like Power Rangers or Kamen Rider for America that isn't campy or for little babies.
That's Kamen Rider and Sizer. You and me. One-on-one. You're on.
I know I've mostly been negative on the show so far, but I do overall find it kinda charming. The action scenes are really good. I think that goes without saying. Not just the original Kamen Rider footage, but the original footage too. It was so good, Dragon Knight actually won a Daytime Emmy in 2010 for Outstanding Stunt Coordination. Our main character, unfortunately, also suffers from not sounding cool while transformed.
I don't know what you're talking about. Do I look like I have money? Actually, you look like you should be flipping burgers. What?
Guys, this should be kind of a priority when casting. Half of the work is doing voiceover. He shouldn't sound like a dork when he's the friggin' Kamen Rider Dragon Knight. Like, if he was played by Johnny Young Bosch or something, we may have something here. As it stands though, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is a show. So we've mainly been checking out a lot of American Power Rangers clones. So let's mix things up a bit and head to Thailand. Squadron Sport Ranger. Yup, a Thai TV show that took inspiration from both Super Sentai and Power Rangers. A really ambitious task that, honestly, looks like it had a lot of genuine love and effort put into it. Now, with the show being in Thai, and me barely able to speak English, I wasn't really able to understand what was going on, so I'm just gonna read the Wikipedia to explain the concept. The show follows an evil alien tribe called the Star Hunters that steal the life energy from other planets with a device known as King Metal. However, during a fight, another metal known as the Night Metal was destroyed into 5 shards and scattered on Earth, where 5 teenagers are granted with its power, and the 5 teenagers all being athletes, and the Rangers themselves being sports themed. We got boxing red, soccer yellow, tennis green, swimming blue, and gymnastics pink, where together they need to balance fighting crime and playing sports. Sounds cheesy, which makes it the perfect Power Rangers clone. I can only really speak on the presentation of the show, so when it comes to that, I'm really blown away. These suits are really solid. They're simple but effective. Sure, if you sit there and analyze every detail, you'll start to notice that these are just shoulder pads and track pants that you could buy in a clothing store. The camera work, action choreography, special effects, it's all on par with Power Rangers and Super Sentai. It's cool seeing Thailand able to perfectly emulate the action and design of Super Sentai, as well as adapting what seems to be the cheesy children television aspect of Power Rangers. I'm really impressed with this show. It made its debut on August 6, 2006. But what's really interesting is that Sport Ranger would actually get a Season 2 on August 24th, 2012. A whole 6 years later, they brought back this specific team of heroes. They could have just made a new show with new characters, but this resonated with so many viewers they had to specifically revive this. Thank you, Thailand. Did you know there was an animated Power Rangers knockoff that's actually kinda good? This is Miniforce. The project comes from South Korea, from an animation studio known as SAMG Entertainment. Now, despite it being a South Korean cartoon, the show actually has a full English dub.
Not bad. Try this on for size. Force Sword, transform!
In Miniforce, we follow 4 cute, adorable little creatures doing silly little activities. However, when duty calls, they're also sworn to defend the Earth from all evildoers, to protect the peace between animals and humans alike. It's morphin' time, baby! In terms of a kid's show, this is really good. It's super colorful, the main characters are cute and marketable, and it's honestly animated really well. Whenever the characters fight or use special weapons and abilities, it's pretty impactful. Also, every episode is only about 10 minutes, so the pacing is perfect for a little kid. Get a little bit of the animals doing cute stuff, a little bit of the superhero work, and bing bang boom, before you know it, you're on to the next episode. Which is definitely built by design. To my knowledge, Miniforce only airs on YouTube. Yeah, you can find every episode on the official Miniforce channel. A channel with millions of subscribers and videos with hundreds of millions of views. There's tons of compilations that'll autoplay on a kid's iPad, which I'm not here to judge because at least the show is actually good. I'd rather have a kid spend hours binging Miniforce rather than whatever this is. There's also plenty of videos with the 4 main characters just doing regular iPad kid activities.
Red.
Eating ice cream with some weird sound effects that'll hypnotize a kid for a few hours. I'm just so surprised I've never heard of Miniforce until doing research for this video. The idea of rebooting Power Rangers as an animated show has been a topic for many fans over the years. And while Miniforce isn't the perfect example of this in action, considering it is aimed for the open-mouth coughing iPad kid demographic, there's no denying the quality and success at work here. I guess if I had to nitpick something, the voice acting can definitely be interesting at times.
Gross! These are so nasty! Blah, blah.
But overall, this is a really cute show that I'd recommend if you have kids or are a young kid looking for some animated Power Rangers fun. Alright, we finally made it to one of the big reasons I wanted to make this video in the first place. This is Hikonin Sentai Akiba Ranger, otherwise known as Unofficial Sentai Akiba Ranger. A parody series of Super Sentai, so no, it's not affiliated with Power Rangers specifically, but since we've already checked out a couple of awful parodies done bad, I feel like it's only fair we end on a parody done well. Akiba Ranger follows 3 otaku nerds. Akaki Nobuo is our Red Ranger. He's a massive Sentai fanboy who knows everything about them, is willing to spend his life savings on a rare Megazord, and also has a 2D anime waifu. AKA, literally me. Yumeria Moegi is Akiba Yellow. She's a kawaii cosplayer who is super moe, is that the word? I don't know. And lastly, we have Ayogi Mitsuki, a shy high school student who loves martial arts and is a secret otaku. Probably the most normal of the trio. She also looks exactly like the YouTuber Sphere Hunter. Like every time she came on screen, I thought it was her. They're all massive nerds who live in Akihabara, which, if you don't know, is the nerd capital of Japan. When I visited Japan years ago, it was one of my favorite places. Anime, video games, and everything nerdy can be found there. Akihabara also goes by Akiba, hence Akiba Ranger. Literally nerdy rangers. The 3 get approached by a woman who's essentially their mentor. She takes them to her base, which is just a Super Sentai cafe, and this place literally looks like heaven. Sentai memorabilia plastered all around it. So, okay, there's an in-universe anime character named Aoi-tan that everyone loves. So the store owner gives these 3 a doll that will transform them into Akiba Ranger, where they do battle with the evil Malsina, who is played by a former Japanese AV star. If you don't know what that is, go ahead and look it up. Where naturally, Akagi is the only one who's well versed in what to do, needing to lead the team on important Sentai business like roll call, doing special moves in unison, and using his vast Sentai knowledge to save the day. However, it turns out all of this action is actually just in their head. These anime figures connect the 3 into shared delusions and fantasies, where they can't tell the 2 apart. That's basically the abridged rundown of the plot. These three want to become an official team recognized by the Super Sentai universe. Partially what makes this show great is that it was made by Toei themselves, meaning they're allowed to use actual Sentai props and even characters themselves. Episode 1 literally starts off with Akagi pretending to be a part of SPD until he eventually runs into Deca Red and proclaims he wishes to study under him. However, Deca Red says that he's just an actor, and he's only wearing his uniform for a Power Rangers SPD event? That is amazing. The show constantly plays the theme songs of past Sentai when appropriate, which I'm sure would just hit a fan with a wave of nostalgia. Of course, the command center itself is filled to the brim with Sentai memorabilia. What's great is that even as a Power Rangers fan who knows basically nothing about Sentai, you can still get a lot of joy just out of seeing the imagery. Every episode usually has Akagi using his Sentai knowledge to either help in the fight, or just reference it, because he's a huge nerd whose life revolves around Super Sentai. But what truly makes Akiba Ranger fantastic is that it doesn't present itself as a lesser show just because it's a parody. The story and fight choreography is still incredibly strong, being on par to any official Sentai season. And that's all I'm gonna talk about for now, because I fell in love with this show so quickly, I want to give it the respect and time it deserves. So I'm actually gonna be making an in-depth video on Akiba Ranger soon. Be on the lookout. But with that, our Power Rangers ripoff / clone / tokusatsu in America retrospective reaches its end. The effect of Power Rangers was undeniable. What started off as a silly kid show to sell some toys in America blew up to become a cultural phenomenon that companies just needed to be a part of. Some of them weren't too bad, while others flopped to the ground instantly, not fully understanding the sauce that made Power Rangers special. Let me know if you grew up with any of these shows and what they mean to you. I've been considering making longer standalone videos for shows like VR Troopers or Beetleborgs, so let me know if you'd be into that. But wait! What about all of those Power Rangers inspired video games? VR Troopers on Genesis, original titles like Wonderful 101 or Chroma Squad? Well, I guess those will all have to be checked out another time.